Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Tristan Thomas with Mend Sourcing, and in today's video we're going to talk about the problems that we typically see when we invoice the DLA. Now from time to time you are going to have a problem when you do invoice the government. Maybe they didn't receive all of the exterior containers that you sent out. Maybe they didn't count the quantity correctly, but there is going to be a time when you are going to face what is called a discrepancy with that invoice. So in this video what we're going to do is how to talk to you about how to get the right help, fix those issues, and make sure that you get paid. Because the sooner that you get paid, the sooner that you can pay that manufacturing company, that packaging house, whomever it might be. So in this video, we're going to talk to you about how do you get that help. Now again, my name is Tristan Thomas with Mend Sourcing, and if this is the first time that you're at our channel, please do hit that subscribe button below, as we do try to put these videos out once or twice a month to try to make sure that you can be more efficient and effective with how you bid on government contracting. Okay, so please do subscribe below. Now with that being said, what we're going to do is dive into exactly how to make sure that you get paid, right? We're going to give you a step-by-step process in doing so. But before that, there is a few notes that I want to make sure that we address when it comes to shipping out to the government and invoicing them. First thing that I want you to just realize is that no one is going to care about your business as much as you do. So with that being said, do not expect that the government is just going to miraculously think of a way to fix this issue with that invoice. You are going to have to do it. And with that, we realize that the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And what I mean by that is the more people at the DLA that you're involving inside of this and getting to the right people and letting them know that this is the problem, they are tremendously helpful. So they are going to fix it, but you've got to get the right people. So squeaky wheel gets the grease. And the last thing, do not just assume that the government is going to pay out that invoice. So you do have to go inside of the PI system, go into the My Invoice area, and I've created another video on this previously, but check your invoices periodically and ensure the payment has been made. Make sure that the payment has been made to the right account, it's the right dollar amount connected to the invoice that you sent out, and it was paid on time. If there are any problems, you got to fix that problem. Now, with that being said, what I want to do is talk to you about not the problems that we typically face, but let's first talk about the process that we internally here at Mend Sourcing use when we invoice the government. So what we do, once we get the parts in from the manufacturer, do our inspection, and we do all of that, we then package the CLIN per contract requirements. So when we're ready to package, we have the contract right there, look at that specific CLIN, and we package the item per that contract requirement. If we need to, once that packaging is all done, we get the inspection and acceptance of the supplies from the DCMA. That's when you have inspection and acceptance at origin, which typically happens at your location. That's only if it's applicable. If the inspection and acceptance is at destination, that means you can skip this section because you don't have to get them inspected and accepted. They ship it out, and then at the delivery site is where they do that inspection and acceptance. But once that's all taken care of, we ship out our order. The day that we ship out that order is the time that we complete the receiving report and invoice for that shipment. So we go into PI and we create that receiving report and invoice inside of WAWF. And I have created another video on exactly how to do that. So you can go through our channel, find that video on the PIEE and WAWF system, and it'll go over exactly how to invoice the government. Then what we do periodically, every Friday actually, we check the status of any outstanding invoice. And to check out any outstanding invoice, we go into PI and then go into the section called My Invoice. And it's going to give you a list of all of the invoices that you've done, whether they've been paid or they're pending payment, whatever it might be. But this is the step-by-step process that we follow. Step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, from here, where do we go? Well, let's talk about, since this video is about making sure that we can fix any problems, well, the way to find out if there's any problems is you go inside of My Invoice. In a perfect world, inside of My Invoice, it should go as follows. The first thing that happens is inside of here, it'll say researching quantity and or price discrepancy. This status right here that you see right here is step number 1 of you getting paid and getting paid on time. This means that on the back end, they're making sure that the quantity that you invoiced matches the quantity that they received. From there, the next status that you should see is scheduled for payment. This is step number 2. That means that yes, the quantity that you stated is matches the quantity that they received, and so did the invoices, so now you're scheduled for payment. Then from there, we go into step number 3, which is you getting paid. That's the progression of how it should go. Now, if you want to see exactly any of the records that are there, you can look at the details, and here on the far right, that'll show the details of that specific invoice. When you're supposed to get paid, it'll show you the day it was paid, if it was already paid, and so forth, and so on and so on. So go into this detail section. That is the step-by-step process that should be followed. But unfortunately, at times, you are going to see the status like this, where it says see reason and remark code. If you ever see this, consider this to be a problem. This means that there's somewhere, some part of the process on the back end where something's wrong. Whether the quantity didn't match or the invoiced amount didn't match, but it's going to tell you, or excuse me, it's going to give you a status that says see reason and remark. And then on the right-hand side, under invoice amount, it's going to tell you how much is being held. So I'm having, in this example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items that are being held. So I need to go into the system, click on the details area to figure out what the problem is. So anytime that you see reason and remark codes, just know that that's just a blanket statement that says that means that there's a problem with that invoice. So what I would do at this point is I would click on the details section that I showed you on the far right-hand side, and now I'm brought to this screen. What it's going to do is it's going to show up at the top right-hand corner. It's going to show the status where it says see reason and remarks. And then on the bottom left, it's going to show the description of what the problem is. So in this case, it says the description is awaiting destination acceptance, recommended action, contact your government acceptor for assistance. In my experience, I have never seen a different description and recommended action. So I think that this is just a blanket statement that they use within the system that says, hey, there's a problem and you got to fix that problem. Now for this is $1,900, give or take. So it's $1,899 that is being held until I fix what the problem is. This problem will not go away until I jump into and fix it. Here's another one, a bigger one. Again, status right here, see reason and remark codes. And again, bottom left shows description awaiting destination and acceptance. Contact your government acceptor for assistance. The problem with this one is that's a lot of money. We're talking about $57,000 that are being held from our account. This video is being filmed on the 8th of November. The payment due date is the 10th of November. So even though it says this, because it has a status that says see reason and remark codes, and the description says this payment due date is going to pass, and they're not going to pay this $57,000. It is my responsibility to figure out what the problem is. Anytime that you do see this, take ownership of that problem. Know that you are responsible for making sure that you fix the problem. They'll fix it for you, but you got to address that problem. So how do we address that problem? What we got to do is we got to diagnose what the problem is, and then we got to act. Make sure that it gets taken care of. Be the leader of taking care of this problem. First thing that we do anytime that we see that there's a discrepancy there's certain questions that we ask ourselves. Question that I ask myself is, what was the quantity of the CLIN that I shipped out? So in this case, let's give the example of 1,000. So let's just say that the quantity of the CLIN that was shipped out was 1,000 EA. So I write that down. The second thing is, how many did I ship against that CLIN? So in this case, if the CLIN was 1,000 and I only shipped out a partial shipment of 500 EA, well then the next question is, when it comes to how those items were shipped, what is the total quantity shipped and what is the quantity per exterior container? So this could be in multiple exterior containers, right? So let's just say I send 100 in each exterior container and there's 5 exterior containers or 5 boxes that I'm shipping out. I need to be aware of what that is. Maybe there's a problem with one box was missing, right? And maybe I'm only going to be paid 400 as opposed to the 500. But in this example, I'm saying that let's just say that we had one box or one exterior container that had all 500 items in it. Now the question becomes, does the receiving report and the invoice match what was shipped? So these questions that we ask ourselves internally allows us to figure out maybe there was something that we did incorrectly that we should have fixed. And if so, then we want to address what that problem is. Now, once we ask those questions, now what we want to do is prep for getting that problem taken care of. So what I would recommend that you do is you have the following items ready to go before we try to figure out what the problem is and act accordingly. First thing that you got to figure out is, what was the quantity that was actually shipped? So you want to have that down. Write down what that is. Then secondly, you need to have the tracking number of each exterior container that you shipped. Now, when you go through VSM and they give you the labels, whether it's a FedEx or a UPS label, it'll give you a tracking number. That's why it's really important that you document everything that was shipped out. Make sure that you write down what those tracking numbers are per exterior container. Also, write down exactly what is the quantity that was shipped per exterior container. And what you can do inside of UPS and FedEx is you can get what is called a proof of delivery statement. This is like a PDF file that says, hey, we received the item on this specific date, it left this area, was shipped out to this destination, and it was delivered and signed by whomever it might be. But that's what the proof of delivery that you can get through the UPS and FedEx website will show. So we have that ready. And then lastly, maybe there's other evidence to support your claim that there was a problem that needs to be fixed. So what we do internally, we do a lot of packaging for other companies that are out there that don't want to do it themselves, and we're very good about documenting everything. So we take pictures of every unit container, intermediate container, exterior container, just to make sure that if there are any problems, we can say, hey, look, when it left our facility, it looked like this, everything was good. Here's the proof of delivery. We have all of our ducks in a row prior to making sure that this gets taken care of. So we want to prepare everything because these are questions that are going to be asked by the DLA asking if you have all that information. So with that being said, let me give you an example. In this example, what we're going to do is talk about and this is actually a true real life example. So in this example, what we ended up doing is we sent 4,200 pieces, or EA, shipped for a contract number. So that's a fake contract number, but let's just say theoretically that's the contract number. So we sent out a total of 4,200 items. I write all that down. Then the next thing I do is per exterior container, I write down exactly what was the quantity shipped in that exterior container and what is that tracking number. Now, if you're familiar with this, you probably know what company this is going through, but this is all done through FedEx. We write down exactly the quantity that was in each exterior container and the tracking number associated with it. Then what we do is we have the pictures of each of the 5 containers that we use. So we have all that information. Once we have all that information, now we want to take action. Now, no, I can't find any place that has told me this, but this is the system that we use to figure out what the problem is and to make sure that we act accordingly. If we do have a problem with the quantity of a shipment, first step that we do in all this is we call the DLA service desk. You can call the DLA service desk at 877-352-2255. They will figure out or look on their side, okay, we received X amount of items, which came to a total of whatever that might be. Then you can cross-reference that with what you had shipped out to make sure it's the same. Sometimes what we find out is that that's the problem. Maybe we shipped out 1,000 pieces and only 800 they counted it. Well, then they got to go back and fix that, right? Because you shipped out 1,000. So where'd those other 200 pieces go? And it can be something as simple as that. So calling the DLA service desk is the best way to handle that. But if the quantities match up, then what we got to do is we got to figure out what the problem is with the invoice. So if it is a problem with an invoice, you want to call DFAS. So DFAS is the Defense Finance and Accounting Services. Their number is 800-756-4571. When you do call them, you got to know exactly what your contract's DODAC is. So the DODAC can be found for the accounting department in box number 15 of your contract. Then what you want to do is, once you call that number, they're going to prompt you, press 1 for these DODACs, press 2 for these DODACs, and so on and so on. So then you want to listen and then select the correct option based upon the contract's DODAC. That's the best way to do it. So write this down, screenshot it, do what you got to do. But problem with quantity of the shipment, call a DLA service desk. If it's a problem with the invoicing, you want to call DFAS. What I thought would be good is let's give you an actual problem that we did face. So here's a contract info that we had. We had a contract line item number 1 that had a request for 3,409 EA. We shipped out 3,409 EA. We invoiced for 3,409 EA. But going into my invoice, I see that we were paid for only 1,409. Didn't know where it was. If I didn't raise this problem, no one would have fixed it. But where's the payment for the other 2,000 EA? And this was a large number. What I had to do is I had to collect all the information prior to me making that first call. I wrote down that we shipped out 3,409. I realized that there were 3 exterior containers. First exterior container had 1,000, so did the second one, and then the third exterior container had 1,409. So just by looking at this, I'm thinking, okay, I got paid for 1,409. Exterior container 3 had 1,409. So maybe they didn't receive these 2, or maybe they didn't count them in. But the only way that I could figure that out was first calling the DLA service desk to find out what the problem was. So what ends up happening when I make that call, we look at that contract, I tell them exactly what it is, I give them the tracking numbers associated with those 3 exterior containers, and then they create a case number. I can't stress enough how appreciative I am of the DLA service desk, because they are so good at creating this case and then finding a resolution to it. So this was an actual problem that we faced, and what we ended up receiving the following day was an email that looked like this. It said, your case, and then it had the case number, has been closed. It's from the DLA service desk, it's to my email, it's for Men's Sourcing, which is our company in Los Angeles. It gives you all this information, but what I really care about is this resolution. So here it says, good morning, a review of web SDR reflects 2 SDRs, these are the numbers. These web SDRs were conducted as there was a labeling issue. The issue was corrected and the web SDRs were closed on the 1st of November 2024. Please see attached. I recommend contacting DFAS now. Contact information is as follows. This is the number that I gave you, and it now says that the case has been closed. So again, from a quantity standpoint, they found the other 2,000 pieces. I'm not sure exactly what the SDRs are, but I'm assuming one SDR had 1,000, another SDR had another 1,000, and it was just something on the back end that they needed to fix. So my next step from here, because the quantity has been completed, I need to now realize that this is an accounting issue, and I call DFAS. So this is a way that I'm actually going to now get paid for those 2,000. And we resolved this issue, and we're now expecting payment relatively soon, because everything else has been taken care of. with that, I do want to end this by going back to what I originally started with, is when it comes to accounting issues or quantity issues or something wrong with the invoice, just realize that no one will care about your business as much as you do. You got to take ownership of this and don't assume that they're going to do it. There are times where I'm calling every single day to get this alleviated, but you have to, because we got creditors we got to pay. Squeaky wheel gets the grease. And lastly, check your invoices periodically and ensure payment. Every Friday I jump in to my invoice and I look, okay, what did we send out? Where is that? Is it scheduled to be paid? Are they still counting it? Is there a problem? And then I address that head on. Now with that, this video again went over the problems with invoicing, the DLA, and certain discrepancies that are there. Remember, you got to take ownership of what is going on. And with that, again, my name is Tristan Thomas with Men Sourcing. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel as we create these videos for you to be better at government contracting. And with that, I want to wish you a great day.